Hi, hello. Today we're going to be talking about the 7-star Ghost Tyranitar. I'm going to give you 6 Pokemon that you can use for this event coming up. And in the background, we're going to do something different. I'm just going to do a fast forward overview video in the background of showing how I calculate all these moves because I do spend a lot of time on these raid builds. Before we get to the 6 Pokemon, let's just talk about what Tyranitar can actually do. The cool thing about this Ghost Tyranitar is it was actually shown 2 years ago during the competitive showcase trailer during, I believe, the World Championship in Yokohama. So it's kind of funny that all of this time later, they are now doing the Ghost Tyranitar they originally used to show off competitive stuff back in the day. That's just like an interesting little fun trivia fact. Here's the thing about Tyranitar. It gets a lot of coverage. So it was kind of fun to build for this because it gets ice moves, it gets electric moves. I think it even gets like Thunderbolt as one of its moves, and Thunder, oddly enough. There's a lot of moves it gets here, but I calculated the strongest moves to then build the 6 best Pokemon we can do without knowing its final moveset. But regardless of its final moveset, these 6 Pokemon should be good to go. Now, not all 7-star raid bosses have had their hidden ability. A good example of this is the 7-star Dragonite. Its hidden ability was multi-scale, but they ended up giving it inner focus. Now, multi-scale would have been really weird in raids anyways, because technically the raid boss's HP bar is ultimately made up of like 30 little HP bars. And that's why when you battled Typhlosion with Eruption, sometimes Eruption did a lot of damage, and sometimes it didn't do enough damage, and that was depending on where its HP actually sat out. Now you can't see these small little HP bars that it goes through, you just see a big HP bar. So multi-scale would have been really weird anyways, and how that worked of if it technically had full health of its 30 times HP bar, it would take less damage. But in this case with Tyranitar, I do expect it to have its hidden ability Unnerve, which prevents you from consuming a berry. Now, I've talked about in my last video, my last raid build video, how I actually like citrus berry over leftovers. We couldn't do that here. Let's talk about Tyranitar. I'm not going to go through every move I calced, but the big ones here are Crunch, Shadow Claw, and Stone Edge. All of these would get the same type attack bonus, meaning they would all do a lot of damage. Stone Edge being very, very strong, but it has the possibility of missing. I believe it's only 80% accurate, which in Pokemon is 50% accurate, if it's not 100. And then Shadow Claw has a high chance of crit. Now, an aside here, Shadow Claw's base damage is 70, and Terra Blast's base damage is 80. I believe in that initial video, when they showed Tyranitar Ghost-type Terra during the match, I believe it did use Terra Blast. Now, Terra Blast is slightly stronger, and a Terra Blast, Adamant Terra Blast from Tyranitar would 2-shot a 252 HP, 252 defense Annihilate. It would be in range of that 2-shot. But because Shadow Claw has high crit, and because Tyranitar gets access to focus energy, I calculated all these Pokemon with the fact of Shadow Claw just always critting, which would then do more damage than Terra Blast, which is a worst case scenario for Annihilate if it doesn't have support to set up properly. Now, lucky for us, Tyranitar doesn't get a lot of stat boosting moves. It does get Iron Defense, and it does get Body Press. So that's a pretty bad combination, especially since Ghost type is only weak to Ghost, and that's not good for us if it has Shadow Claw, and Ghost is also weak to Dark, but that's not good if it gets a fighting type move. And it gets 4 fighting type moves. It gets Brick Break, it gets Low Kick, it gets Body Press. That is scary if it does have Iron Defense. And then I think the last move it gets is Superpower. That's fine. That doesn't matter too much. It also gets like Dragon Claw, it gets Foul Play, it gets Ice Punch, it gets Fire Punch, it gets Thunder Punch, it gets Thunder, it gets Surf, it gets Blizzard. There's a lot of moves it got. I did calculate special moves because Tyranitar is technically a mixed attacker. In a couple tournaments, there has actually been mixed attacking Tyranitars that have won, especially in the Dynamax format, where you might want to switch depending if you are facing a lot of Intimidators. So don't let Tyranitar's stats throw you off. It does get a lot of special moves, and it has a reasonable special attack Obviously not as good as its physical attack, but because of its move pool, it can be used as a mixed attacker. I would expect one or two mixed attacks. I would expect one or two special attacks to go along with its physical attacks. And that leads us to our first Pokemon, which is Grimmsnarl. I think Grimmsnarl is probably one of the best support Pokemons you can get here. Our moveset is going to be Crunch, Chilling Water, Reflect, and Light Screen. And if you're watching this video and you're paying attention and you're actually listening to me talk instead of skipping around and just looking at the graphics, you would know that I'm saying right now that if Tyranitar has no special moves, you can remove Light Screen. You don't need it. And I can tell when you come into my Twitch streams and you use a move that I say, hey, if the raid boss has this move, you don't need it. And that's the first move you do. I can tell that you didn't actually listen to the video, that you just jumped around. But here's the thing about Grimmsnarl. You're either going to open up with a Light Screen or Reflect, depending on what Tyranitar does. And then you're going to spam Chilling Water to lower Tyranitar's physical attack. That should help out the entire team regardless. And then finally, you have Crunch, which is your damage dealing move. It'll do super effective damage. It will also have a 20% chance to lower Tyranitar's defense, which will again help the team. You could opt to put Spirit Break here instead of Light Screen to lower its special attack. You could do that as well. But again, that's assuming Tyranitar has one or two special attacks. You can also use Bulk Up if you don't need Spirit Break or Light Screen to bulk yourself up. But really the main thing you're doing with Grimmsnarl is reflecting, then using Chilling Water. When Reflect wears off, you're going to apply it again. And then when the stats reset, you're going to reapply Chilling Water. Light Clay is our held item. That'll make those screens last 8 turns instead of 5 turns. And then our EV spread is going to be 252 HP, 56 attack, 188 defense, and 12 speed. The 12 speed is to let us speed creep. So even though our Reflects and our Light Screens will go first because of Prankster, the 12 will let our Chilling Water and our Crunch actually go first. Now here's a really important thing for non-Grimmsnarl players. If you see a Grimmsnarl, these raids have been out for 2.5 years, about 2.5 years, and people still don't understand how the raid boss interacts with the 4 players on the field. The raid boss only attacks you if you attack it. Now, there is a timeout mechanic where if you wait, I think it's like 60 seconds or 90 seconds, eventually it'll just select your first move, the raid boss will select its move, and that will happen. But there is an actual turn order. So if you are playing with a Grimmsnarl, as long as you don't attack on that opening turn, and you just look to the upper left-hand corner and you wait for the Grimmsnarl to say Reflect, and then you hit A on your attack, the Reflect will be set up before you, right? So Prankster works in a way where it's just comparing Grimmsnarl to the raid boss. So if let's say on turn 0, you can't stop at turn 0 anyways. Let's just say turn 0, Tyranitar uses Stone Edge, and then everyone else starts to get a turn. If no one presses any button, the raid boss doesn't do anything. So ideally, the Grimmsnarl hits Reflect. That will go first before Tyranitar will attack Grimmsnarl. And as soon as you see that Reflect, when you hit your move, you will be protected behind that Reflect. If you go before the Grimmsnarl does, you and Tyranitar will have an interaction, but there will be no Reflect to protect you from whatever Tyranitar hits back. That can reduce so much damage if you literally just wait 1 to 2 seconds to see that Reflect go up in the upper corner before you hit your move. Just hover over the move you want to hit. As soon as you see the Reflect in the corner, then hit your move. I promise. It makes it sound like I'm like, don't do anything until the Grimmsnarl does. You're literally just waiting seconds. You're just waiting until you see that Reflect before you go. This is how it's always worked, but in this specific situation, I think it's really easy to explain how Prankster interacts with things. So anyways, if you're playing with a team, which my builds are meant for team play, and you see Grimmsnarl, and that very first turn, just wait until you see the Reflect in the corner before you hit your Crunch or whatever move you're going to do. Let it go first, and then it will reduce the damage for you going on. There's my Grimmsnarl rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's talk about damage. Our next Pokemon is going to be Urshifu. Now, I know Urshifu is a legendary. I know that you might only have one Urshifu, or maybe you have the other Urshifu, the water one. We're talking about the fighting one, the fighting dark one. Sorry, they're both fighting. So you might have the fighting water one. But Urshifu is probably the strongest damage dealer we can get here. just because of its signature move, Wicked Blow, which always critical hits. Now, the problem with Wicked Blow is it's only 5 PP. Tyranitar gets 3 ghost moves. It gets Spite, which could lower your PP, which is not good for Wicked Blow specifically. It gets Shadow Claw, which is a high chance for crit, and then it gets Curse. Curse does work in raids. The raid boss can curse you, and really the only way to stop the curse is to taunt it. And I think it would be really cool if it turned 0 cursed, because that would definitely be a new thing for players to experience, I believe. And it reminds me of the Delphox raids when Delphox used Wonder Room. Was it Wonder Room or Magic Room? He used one of the rooms that wasn't Trick Room, and I honestly believe that was a lot of time trainers first saw that move in action. We have only 8 Wicked Blows, assuming that you remember to PP max your Wicked Blow. But honestly, all Urshifu is going to do is you can use Crunch to build Terra because you don't want to waste your Wicked Blows. Taunt to stop a Spite, or Curse, or Iron Defense, depending on where it has it. And then you're really probably not going to bulk up at all until after the stat reset. You could bulk up once, and that just for that defense boost, and then Crunch until stats reset, and then bulk up 1 or 2 more times, and then Wicked Blow. But I wouldn't waste your Wicked Blows without having 1 or 2 bulk ups. You could also just swap out Sword Stance if you feel more comfortable with that over bulk up. I like the defense boost here because +1 defense is actually really good in this situation. But if you don't need Taunt and you don't need Crunch because you just want a +6 Sword Stance, you can swap out Sword Stance with Iron Defense. Really basic EVs here: 252 HP, 252 attack, 4 defense. The Shell Bell to get your health back. With all of these builds, just be really cautious with when you do decide to Terra, because you lose some resistances. In this case, fighting does resist a couple of Tyranitar's moves. So just keep in mind you might take a little bit more damage once you lose your second typing to go pure dark. Another attacker here is going to be Crocodile. Crocodile has the ability Intimidate. Now you could do Anger Point, but that is assuming that Tyranitar will want to critical hit you with Shadow Claw, and because Dark resists Ghost, it might not ever want to do that. I saw this specifically with Meowscarada and Flower Trick using a couple different Anger Point Pokemon, but Meowscarada never wanted to use a Grass type move against us to trigger the Anger Point, so it was kind of not great, unless you have somebody else to trigger your own Anger Point. I think Intimidate here is better for team play anyways. You'll get the Tyranitar to have a -1 right off the bat, which will help you set up. Crocodile, just like Grimmsnarl, can control the physical attack with Breaking Swipe. So I would just build Terra with Breaking Swipe. That helps the team out. That helps you out. And then you will be able to crunch for the bigger damage. Scorching Sands is unique here because it is a 30% chance. It's pretty much ground scald. There's a 30% chance you can burn. This might be good if you're playing with a bunch of Crocodiles or you're playing with a bunch of attackers where Crocodile can kind of switch to support. I know I listed it as an attacker, but if you have a bunch of Crocodiles, you can actually be kind of just a support Crocodile with Breaking Swipe and Scorching Sands, and you can get the burn, you can get the -1, and you can let the other Crocodiles do more damage. And then bulk up. You'll see bulk up a lot on other Pokemon. Now, there is a move called Power Trip. Power Trip is ultimately dark stored power. So Crunch is base 80 damage and Power Trip is base 20 damage. So Power Trip, anytime you have a stat boost, it will add more damage to it. In order for Power Trip to be stronger than Crunch, you would need to do 2 bulk ups. So that will give you +2 attack and +2 defense. And that will let you out-damage Crunch. And obviously, the more bulk ups you do, the stronger Power Trip gets. So, now that you're aware of how Power Trip works, you can replace it with Crunch, knowing that is not more powerful unless you do 2 bulk ups. If you only do 1 bulk up, you're not doing nearly as enough damage. And if you don't do any bulk ups, it's an 80 damage move versus a 20 damage move. So that's why Power Trip isn't in the main slot. Again, this is to make sure you guys are paying attention, and feel free to like. I don't know how far we are into this video. 17 minutes. Feel free to like or 15, I don't know how much I'm cutting or editing. 15 minutes. We're 15 minutes into this video. Feel free to like the video, subscribe, tell your grandma that don't use Power Trip unless you understand that you need at least 2 bulk ups in order for it to be stronger than Crunch. You can try Anger Point if you plan on getting crit. That would be fun, but if I don't know if Tyranitar will even, 1, get Focus Energy, and 2, want to even use Shadow Claw against Crocodile to trigger the Anger Point. 252 defense is not optimal. So if you see other people's Crocodiles and their 252 defense, they didn't actually run the numbers. This is the optimal build. I did the math. I did the numbers. 16 HP, 252 attack, 240 defense. You will actually take 0.3 less damage than just going 252. I optimized it. This is the best it gets. I think the difference would be 4 HP, 252 defense. But by removing a little bit defense and putting in HP, you actually take less damage. The 0.3, I think, was specifically on maybe Earthquake or something. I don't remember. But it does lower all the damage. I like to optimize these builds. That's maybe why some of the numbers probably seem weird. Because I do optimize them the best I can for what we expect. And in just general, right? Like we probably expect Crunch. We probably expect Shadow Claw. We probably expect a strong Rock-type move like Stone Edge or Earthquake. And so it makes sense to optimize these numbers per their strongest moves. Because if we can survive their strongest moves, then it's even better for the weaker moves. Crocodile's a cool Pokemon. Now, with Urshifu and Crocodile out of the way, we have an amazing partner for both of those, which is Scrafty. Maybe the budget version of Urshifu since they have the same typing. Scrafty also with the hidden ability Intimidate, great for helping the entire team. Not a real big damage dealer here. We have 220 HP, 220 defense, again, optimized, and then 40 in attack, and then 28 in speed. The speed is the speed creep, assuming that Tyranitar doesn't have a positive speed nature. Our nature, Impish. But we'll have access to coaching. So remember when I was talking about Power Trip, how Power Trip gets stronger every time your stats increase? Well, Scrafty can help those Crocodiles get their stat increases even quicker by using coaching. Coaching pretty much is bulking up your entire team, just not yourself. You can bulk up yourself with your own bulk up. But ideally, all Scrafty is going to do is probably bulk up once just for its own protection, and then it's going to coach the team. Ideally, your coaching is probably going to get reset because stat reset usually happens around turn 3 and turn 4. So maybe wait to spam your coaching until after the stat reset. But once the stat reset happens, you're just going to coach your team, especially your Crocodiles and your Urshifus, because they're just going to be able to do way more damage than Scrafty can ever do. And then once they terastallize and once you've coached properly, you can helping hand them to do even more damage. Now, if you're playing with a special attacker, you can actually put on Acid Spray. Scrafty's special attack is absolutely dog water, so we can't really take advantage of it. But if you're standing next to a really strong special attacker, none of my Pokemon are special attackers here, you can use Acid Spray to help that Pokemon do even more damage. Overall, Scrafty is just a good support Pokemon that can kind of do damage with Crunch, but ultimately you're going to be coaching and you're going to be helping handing, and you get that initial Intimidate off the bat, which is always helpful. You know, if you're playing with a significant other, you're just playing with a friend, I think Crocodile and Scrafty might be the power combo you want. I would maybe suggest Urshifu, but I also understand Urshifu is way, way, way harder to come by than the two Pokemon I just mentioned. Speaking of a Pokemon that's kind of hard to come by, Zarude. Maybe eventually one day Zarude will be good. It's kind of good here because of its typing. We have Crunch, that's going to be our main damage dealer. And we have Taunt to stop, a Curse or a Iron Defense or a Spite. But the cool move that we have here is Jungle Healing. Jungle Healing is like Life Dew, or it's like Lunar Blessing, or it will heal your team. So Zarude's a really good all-arounder. It can bulk up to make itself stronger. It can Crunch to do really decent damage. And then it can Jungle Healing to heal our team. You might ask why Throat Chop is here. Throat Chop and Crunch are both base 80 damage moves. But Throat Chop would stop Screech if Tyranitar has Screech, and I think there's one other move that Throat Chop would stop on a Tyranitar. But if some crazy reason Tyranitar has Screech, then replace Crunch with Throat Chop. You could also Swords Dance, but I think Bulk Up will probably get you more mileage during this raid. 200 HP, 176 attack, 112 defense. I don't remember the exact moves I was looking at for these. They're probably, if you went back to the VOD, you could probably figure out why this is. But I do remember it turned a specific 4-hit KO move into a 5-hit KO move with these EVs. Shell Bell to get health back when you crunch. You'll notice crunch is on a lot of these Pokemon. Ideally, if crunch is doing its thing, you should get defense drops with somebody because it's a 20% chance. But how I would play Zarude is I would probably bulk up once, probably jungle healing right off the bat. After that, to just make sure everyone's healthy. Crunch, jungle healing, crunch, jungle healing. So, and then our last Pokemon, I'm going to end on kind of a downer because I don't think this Pokemon's that great. Unless we see like a body press, iron defense Tyranitar. That's really why I built this Pokemon. I'm very worried about a body press, iron defense Tyranitar. But they already did that once with Meganium. But I wanted a Pokemon with Clear Smog. So here's a support Pokemon, Brute Bonnet with Crunch. Clear Smog to remove an iron defense if it has it. I will say if you were playing with Intimidators, do not Clear Smog because you're going to remove the -1s. What I'm telling you to do is not build this Pokemon, ideally. If you're listening to the video and not jumping around, maybe don't build this Pokemon unless it's an iron defense body press. There is utility here, though. Clear Smog can be useful if there is some stat increase from Tyranitar, of course. Pollen Puff you can use to heal your team. And then Grassy Terrain is here to reduce earthquake damage. Really, I just wanted to explain that Grassy Terrain halves the amount of damage that comes from Earthquake and Bulldoze. It used to affect Magnitude, but I don't believe Magnitude's in Scarlet and Violet. So if the raid boss has Earthquake, which it's kind of likely that Tyranitar has Earthquake, it's a 100 ground type move with 100% accuracy. It's just it has really good coverage. I don't know why it wouldn't have it. Grassy Terrain would reduce that damage. So that's a really good support move. You can also taunt and you can also scary face. Now, before you say Tyranitar's a ghost, you can't use a normal move against this, you're wrong. I spent way too long looking this up and making sure it worked. And even one of my viewers in Twitch chat tested this on a ghost Pokemon. You can use normal status type moves against ghost Pokemon. You just can't use normal attacking moves against a ghost Pokemon. So really, Scary Face is only here for me to make that point. And if you made it this far in the video and you didn't know that, there you go. There's something to comment. Like, subscribe, comment. I didn't know that worked against a ghost. Now you do. 252 HP, 4 attack, 252 defense. Nothing really special here. Terrain extender to make the Grassy Terrain last longer. Again, if you're listening to this video, Grassy Terrain's only there anticipating Earthquake because it would reduce Earthquake damage to then protect your team. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you need help, you can join our Discord. Or you can jump over to the Twitch streams. I should be streaming all Thursday evening. I'll also be streaming throughout the weekend. So if you do need help with Tyranitar, just come on by. Let me know that you came from YouTube and you need some help. I'm more than happy to help you out. But thanks for making it to the end of the video. These were really fun to build. I hope one of these Pokemon you like or inspires you to build your own. But thank you so much for watching these videos. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time.